It's here, at long last, the template. March 23rd, 2018, I checked, is when I started, with the assistance of Dream Masters, Stephen Tallamy, thanks to them, and of course our very own Jake Jackson. Now, when I brought Jake on board, we discussed how we found the worlds of composition and engineering kind of collided when a score went into production. So we thought, what if we were to build a template whose foundation was the entire workflow, from composition, arrangement, orchestration, when the score goes into production, tracking, mixing, and final delivery to the dub. If you check the link down below, you can download the template directly, or indeed the alternative versions can be found on Spitfire's The Page. That's Spitfire Audio /The Page. But first, some housework. Open the BBC SO Logic template and copy the custom icons folder onto your clipboard. Open your account folder, music, audio music apps, and paste the BBC SO custom icons into your custom icon folder. Open a blank copy of Logic and create a software instrument track. Control-click on the icon and hit the plus symbol. Go to your custom icon folder, lasso, and hit open. Click off this window and close this session. No need to save. You'll see now in your custom icon folder that Logic has created a bunch of TIFFs. This is good. For those of you who have used custom icons before, you may find that the template loads in with them all goofy. This is because, and I can't find a way to hack this at all, Logic is sensitive to the order in which you loaded your icons. So if you haven't used them before, just load them in the way that I showed you. You should be fine. If you have and you've got your own custom icon set, you may have to load them in manually. And remember that you can lasso instruments and drag a single icon into all of those. It's kind of satisfying. Right. Okay, so let's open the Logic template. In due course, there will be 4 versions of this template. One mega template with a separate track for each articulation or playing style, a small template with a separate all-in-one for each instrument, with stripped down or curated all-in-ones according to stemming standards expected by professional orchestral mixers and dubbing engineers today. For the sake of this tutorial, we're going to use the hybrid version. And if you don't own a copy of BBC SO, don't worry, we've also created a stripped out version which you can load your preferred orchestral library into. Check out the page linked below for more info. Just so you know, we've locked this session file so you can't write over it, so whatever changes you'll make, you'll have to do a save as, and once you have a template that exactly suits your preferences and workflow, we recommend you save it down into templates. And if you want to be really fancy, okay, final piece of housework. We've saved the template down with system settings as default for your audio engine. This is so you don't get annoying alerts. Change this to your preferred audio device and check the sample rate for the session. We recommend 48K for broadcast, which is also what the sample files are delivered at. We've carefully wired in the different instances of the BBC SO plugin, so you're going to want to be fully installed before opening. Every instance of the BBC SO has been loaded and then powered down, so you only need to load what you need when you need it. We've organized the tracks into Logic stacks. These are excellent ways of organizing tracks, organizing routing, and stemming. To find out more about them, we found this good tutorial which is linked in the video description below. To switch on an instrument, either start playing it, put a region into its track, or simply turn it on. You'll see that it goes from this faded out color to a high contrast color. This means the instrument is loaded into memory according to the preload buffer. To switch it back, hit power off. You'll see that the instrument is still high contrast and loaded. Don't worry, once you save and revert or load, it will return to its dormant state. Alternatively, you can switch the entire content of the stack on here. That's if you're absolutely sure that you want to load everything into your project. A little side note, if you save down a project with track selection on a stack, this whole stack will automatically load when you boot it up again, which is why we have this blank track at the top. Good hygiene is to make this your track selection when saving down. It's kind of like taking the keys out of your motor when parking. Okay, so let's get composing. The stacks are organized by section, or orchestral choirs as some people call them, in the order you would read them on a score: woodwinds, brass, keys, perk, and strings. You'll see that all these bus to different locations, but within the stack, all tracks sum to bus 255, which is the mix out, which is also bus 256, which is the mastered out. The effects we've added are more of a kind of guide to what you can use, and we're sure you're going to use your favorite reverbs and compressors, but remember, if you're going to collaborate, it is always useful to use host plugins so there aren't endless alerts at your collaborator's end complaining about missing plugins. Now let's look at the footer section of each stack. Here you'll see a whole bunch of routing for reverbs, delays, whatever you like. We find that different articulations need differing reverb levels and have grouped these articulations into stems, an old-fashioned word for stereo masters. In the case of strings, longs, shorts, Pits and Collegno, Others, or FX. So each stack needs to have its own dedicated plugins, each with its own unique routing. So in the case of strings, 51 is for a nice long reverb, 52 is for another reverb, maybe a plate, then 53 through 55 are for plugins of your choice. You'll see we've already curated send amounts that we feel work best for these different articulation group of stems with the first two effects sends, 51 and 52. Open up each instance of BBCSO, and if you're using this, the hybrid version of the template, you'll see that we have curated mini all-in-ones that have articulations that fit into that stem type. So here are all the longs, here are all the shorts, here are all the pits. And if you want to use more than one long simultaneously, say blending longs normal and flautando, you can simply duplicate the track and all the wiring will remain the same. We're using Jake's Mix 1 on all instances. This seems to be a really popular choice. I know that Andy Blaney used this on a phenomenal track that I've linked below. He used the Mix 1 and just some of the spill and balcony mics as an enhancement. Beyond the BBCSO stems, we've also created another 4 miscellaneous stacks where we imagine you'll want to put your, say, cinematic percussion, your synths, your loops, and maybe some soloists like a duduk player, for example. If you are planning on collaborating or sharing what you do with the community, either lay these miscellaneous stems into audio so people can load them up without having to find different sample instruments, or we recommend going to Spitfire Audio Labs where there's a selection of really wonderful pianos and drum kits and that kind of stuff which are available for free. So we've created this number of stacks in adherence to what we've experienced in the field today. Not too much, not too little. We've also made dummy audio tracks and software instruments already wired in, so all you have to do is to either assign plugins or duplicate tracks as you need them within that stack. We've curated score preferences for all the instruments and have also designed a whole bunch of screen sets based on our established workflows. A final aid to the composition process has been to create composition groups. We often like to write with ensembles, so a mixture of, say, violins and cellos, basically so we can write with both hands. This is a section-based library, so if you want to write a stringy Paddy choral style passage, make sure the strings long group is activated, hit record on one of the long tracks, and hey presto, all the string longs are being played. Okay, on to track laying in preparation for your sessions and mix. For this, you'll need to hit the H button, the hide button, where all sorts of fancy stuff by Jake is hidden. So you'll see from each individual stack we have a dedicated set of print stems. We recommend that you mute the stacks and unmute these so you can monitor truly what's going to tape in inverted commas. These stems have been meticulously titled, so we really recommend following these types of protocols as it will save hours in the mix. For example, having your winds longs on a track that is first prefixed 101. There are two types of print tracks. The ones on the hundreds, so track 100 in the winds, track 200 in the brass, is the playback stem. So these include the effects, the reverbs, and are designed simply to be used as playback for your recording sessions. The rest of the stems from 101, 201, etc., are your mix stems. You'll notice none of the reverbs or effects are routed to these buses, as tracking and mix engineers prefer to introduce these themselves. If you're using dedicated, very specific delays or effects, we recommend inserting these directly onto the tracks you're using them on. There is a sync plop for those that would like to use it. The plop 2 track is there to aid routing to all stems. Jake Jackson hasn't used sync plop for years. He tends to write timecode in the name of the audio track, which means you don't have a plop at the beginning of all your mixes, which is annoying. I like using them because they give me peace of mind. So all you need to do is record, enable the stems you wish to track lay, and lay your print tracks. So that's it, the beginning of this collaborative experiment. If there are any enhancements or bugs that Jake and I haven't caught to this template, please put them in the comments down below. I know that Jake and I will be reading them enthusiastically. For alternative versions of the template and what we hope will be a whole bunch of resources, maybe Cubase templates, Pro Tools templates, please go to spitfireaudio.com/the page. And if you yourself want to share anything on whatever platform that may be, maybe that's YouTube or your socials, make sure you attach the handle #OneOrchestra. Thanks as always for your enthusiastic support with this project and indeed for watching the video to the end. One of those for the efforts of those involved would be much appreciated. Do subscribe if you haven't done already and ding that bell if you want to be notified the next time I put something up. See you next time.